MCC, you either love it or you love it. All right. It's time for me to do a little bit of an analysis, a little bit of a prediction, a little bit of everything actually. MCC 10 is coming out soon, and it's for me it's a Friday. I am Asian, so I'm coming right before everybody else, all those like Americans. Haha, I'm laughing at you. And the English too. I'm before everybody else because I'm Asian. But and so if I want to watch MCC, I have to wake up at 3 a.m. But that's besides the point. The point is, I am doing a little bit of a prediction thing, how the MCC placements would turn out. I'm not going to talk about viewer teams at all because I don't really know the skills of the viewer teams. Before we go and talk about all these predictions, I just want to do a little bit of giving you a first reaction. This is interesting, right? You have Dream and George, who have we all know have a chemistry together, and then you have Jamie and Puffy. Another interesting team. Now, Joel is really underrated. Can False be that second time in a row winner? That's what I want to ask. I want to know. Interesting team as well. We all know that Bern and Michael always team together. Bern and Michael always seem to be a duo that kind of lifts the spirits up, and a lot of times they have made dodgeball. So it's interesting to put this into like an analysis and kind of think, okay, will this team make it far enough? I think a lot of people, including me, were like, oh, okay, Niaju's not teaming with Wilbur. I don't know why is Wilbur not playing. That was one of my first reactions. I think the chemistry will be good at first glance. That's just my perspective. I realized that this was exactly an MCC5 replicated team, except that instead of CPK, it's Lizzie. In my mind, I was like, is this what Scott planned? Because he won MCC5. Does he like want to win again with a similar team? It sucks that there's no CPK though, but I feel like if CPK was in there, everybody would call them as like, oh, it's rigged. Why does the organizer want the whole team of back from MCC5 to win again and things like that? So maybe it was changed a bit. Everybody knows that they are for fun team. I think it's quite established, but it'll be cool to see them do well if they do. Really love this team because we all know that Jordan and Kara, they generally have good chemistry, or they work well together, and we know that Sapnap and Sylvie have teamed before on previous MCCs, so it won't be like anything like communication breakdowns, not necessarily. It'll be interesting to see Sapnap team with people that are outside of his like immediate friend group. So I really want to see that because he has been for the last few MCCs teaming with George a lot. When I saw this, I didn't really think much of Pokimane, honestly, because I'm more of a Minecraft YouTuber watcher. I mean, I know that Pokimane's done Minecraft before, but I'm sure she does like more like Fortnite and other games. But I was kind of like more excited for the Tommy and Tabo thing. Now, I just want to preface what my predictions are going to be based on how the previous few MCCs events have been happening. Now, I actually went to look at the past few MCCs. I've been looking at the stats as well, not just because for this video, but like, in general, I'm quite interested to see how exactly team placements work. Usually, for MCC winners, or at least the first team placement and the second team placement, you always have two people on the team that will be in the top 10. So, for example, MCC 9, very clear, we have Fruit and H in the first and fourth. Then the second team was Kurtzy and Sapnap, and I believe George was really close. George and False were both really close in the top 10. So Kurtzy and Sapnap at like third and sixth. And then MCC 8, you had Dream and Techno, and you had, I believe, what was Quig and H-Bomb, and I think Whip as well. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there's always been a trend of at least two people in the team meeting expectations or excelling beyond expectations. And if you have two people in your team of four that's able to excel well enough to get into like the top 10 or even the top 5, I think you guarantee yourself a top 2 placement. This doesn't always happen. Like sometimes the third team will get like 2 people in the top 10, but a low placement in the top 10. I think I've seen that before. Of course, there are some exceptions. For example, MCC5, where you have Quig doing super well, and then you have Scott, Shovel, and CBK all around close to the 10th spot. It's either you have to have 2 people that do exceedingly well, or 3 to 4 people that do one of them doing exceedingly well and the other 3 or 2 to 3 do like very decently well. With that kind of combinations, you would definitely get a first or second placement, and sometimes you can get a third depending on the competition. So with that preface, I'm going to go through each of the teams and what I think will be their rough placement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the same order that I did the reactions, and then after that, at the end of the video, I'm going to put up the placements for you to see. First team, Red Rabbits, Dream, George, Jimmy, and Kara, right? So when I see this team, I think immediately, will communication work? Now, I remember MCC 7. Dream, George, Stepnap, and Sylvie. The communication between that team was so scary to me. When I watched that team, I remember a lot of the comments in the Twitch streams was like saying, hey guys, don't ignore Sylvie, and I'm not saying that they are not good friends. Again, Stepnap, George, Dream, we all know that they are really good friends. And again, as individual players, I think they're really good. Remember, last MCC, George placed like 11th. Stepnap placed 3rd. Stepnap, as Dream said, Stepnap popped off, right? Teamwork and communication is very much different from individual scorings. However, I have seen their recent streams and some recent videos about them learning how to parkour from Dream and things like that. They seem fine. What I worry about this team is whether they can communicate well or not. In a clear-minded way. In a way that is not shouting a lot, because when you start to panic and everything, especially we've seen the manhunt videos when people when Dream, George, they start to panic, they can scream, they can shout. It's about whether or not they can control that, because sometimes when you start screaming and shouting, you affect the teammates around you, like the whole little atmosphere that you have going on. Whether or not you have chemistry, sometimes if one person panics, it can very often lead to somebody else panicking. Same thing with when, let's say, you're in Parkour Warrior and one person starts to say, man, I'm really not doing well and things like that, and it really affects the mood of every other teammate. So you really have to take into account these things, these social cues, social aspect of it. It's really about teamwork, MCC. I'm not at all worried about individual placement, standings, individual skill. We know that Dream can perform very well, and so does George. And I believe that, and so did Kara as well. Kara has made top 10 before. They even had to nerf Kara when they removed Skyblockers. So that's the thing. The make it or break it thing about this team is whether or not they can communicate well, and whether or not the games that are chosen are the ones they have practiced for. If it's Rocket Spleef, they're not going to do it. If Rocket Spleef is the last game, that's their nightmare. Next, we have Pete, Joel, False, and Cupfan. From my first glance at this team, the main determining factor is Joel. Joel, he's played in a bunch of MCCs before. We've seen him on teams with good skill, and we've seen him on teams that are for fun. On the teams with good skill, he has done well in. Again, we have Pizza Hut on this team. We all know that for some reason, Pete cannot do well at dodgeball. Possibly the nerves. Joel can. So if let's say they do go to dodgeball, False also probably. If they do go to dodgeball, Joel and False have to carry the team. Pete carries always in individual scores. He was really down and out last MCC 9, and he still got 5th individually. He was on 2 to 4 hours of sleep. He still got 5th individually. Pete is really good as an all-rounder in terms of the games. False can carry her own weight. I'm not super sure about Cupfan. I'm hoping he can as well. But to me, the make it or break it is Joel. Whether or not Joel will place in the top 10 or not and be able to excel close to Pete, in a sense, become that H-bomb to Pizza Hut in terms of not only a support player, but a hype man, somebody who can bring the mood up. We need somebody like that. Same thing with False. Last MCC where H was really encouraging False and Ren. We need somebody like that in this team to encourage the teammates. If Joel can not only do well and exceedingly well, and but also have somebody in this team that can really keep the mood up, this team will do well. If not, then no, we're not gonna see this team get to dodgeball at all. Next we have Krinios, Ryan, Temple Harvey, Burren and Michael McChill. This team, I'm not super sure about. Okay, we've seen Burren and Michael. They have been a bit inconsistent in terms of the standings. And a lot of times we believe that it is because of the two teammates. We know that Burren can really do well, especially in PvP games. But I think the main focus would be Ryan and Teppel, and whether or not Ryan and Teppel can exceed our expectations. I feel like this team is an underrated team, but underrated only slightly, because we have not seen Teppel place the top 10 yet. And I think we've seen Ryan place the top 10 like once or twice, maybe when he was teaming with Jordan, Kara, and Kurtzy. But besides that, we have not really seen Ryan excel, into like the top 5, top 10. I could see that happening though this time around, because a lot of the people that usually get the top 10 placements are not playing in this game, who are really good players, like for example Dave, H, Fruit, maybe even Calvin. All of them are not playing this MCC, and so it really gives space for a lot of people like Harvey and Ryan to finally prove to everybody that they are actually of that higher standard that everybody attests them to be. For that to happen, they need to be excellent as an all-rounder like Pete. The reason Pete and Quick do so well is because Pete and Quick are all-rounders. They're not just good at PvP or parkour. Quick is really good. Quick and Pete both are really good at rocket spleef. Pete is a really good person at hole in the wall. Quick is exceptional at survival games. We all know this, so you have to be an all-rounder, even at excelling at games like Build Mart and Sense of Time. You can't neglect these, because these could very easily be the last few games in an MCC. Next, we have Techno, Phil, Neochu, and Eret. Now, last MCC, where we had Techno, Calvin, Finster, and Spivey, everybody said that team was going to do well. And everybody was wrong. Well, they were doing well at the start, but I guess people were half right. The difference between that team and this team, though, is that team had 2 new players, and this team has 1 new player. And so the difference is then the Eret. The Eret is the difference. But I would say that this team has a really high chance of getting the dodgeball. The reason why is not necessarily because there's Techno on it, but because there's Techno and Phil on it. Now, to me, the make it or break it, as I said with the same thing with Joel, the make it or break it is always the second player excelling as well. Now, Phil, last MCC, for some reason, he would place 20 or something, but we know that Phil can place in the top 10, and I believe that he will in the next MCC. So Techno and Phil having 2 placements in the top 10, they're very likely to reach dodgeball. However, the true make it or break it on this team is not Phil, it's Neochu. How well can Neochu adapt, especially to the games that can't be practiced and are especially crucial to MCC? For example, Ace Race. Last MCC, Finster completely destroyed Ace Race. Finster got last place in Ace Race and brought the team down a little bit. But the thing is that it's not necessarily Finster's fault. It's not necessarily that Finster's bad at the game. It's just that he's new. And so whether or not Neochu can carry the weight of adapting, of being spontaneous enough to be able to okay, this is what I have to do now. And so reaction time, processing, because I know they've been practicing dodgeball, they've been practicing PvP. If not enough PvP games are played, if it's Build Mart, if it's Ace Race, all these games that that can't exactly be practiced, but it's crucial to MCC very well, so that this team doesn't make dodgeball. Next, we have the Green Guardians with Quick, Scott, Shovel, and Lizzie. Okay, at first glance, I would feel that many people are gonna discount this team. I wouldn't discount them just yet, mainly because I feel like this team can be competitive, and when they are competitive, that's when they can excel. If Scott and Shovel are on a team that's mainly competitive, then they'll do well. That's gonna happen because Quick is on the team now. Quick, we all know, is an amazing player. Everybody knows that. Almost always places the top 5. So what needs to happen actually is Scott needs to get into the top 10. That's number 1. Scott needs a placement in the top 10. Come on, Scott. I feel like the make it or break it for this team is the games that end up being played. I think what this team needs is survival games. I feel like this team's really good at survival games. Maybe Rocket Spleef. Because if they are able to get Rocket Spleef as one of the last games, Quick can really do damage, and I know Scott can too. Again, if this team makes dodgeball, they are, I feel like, one of the better teams at dodgeball. There's Techno's team that's good at dodgeball, and then there's this team that's good at dodgeball, because you have Quick and Scott. They're really good shots. Shovel as well. She clutched that MCC5. We know that. I'm not talking a lot about Lizzie, because Lizzie hasn't played in a while, MCC. But I feel like as long as Lizzie carries her own weight in the games, we're fine. Now, the fact that Lizzie hasn't played in a long time does worry me a bit. Like, is she able to adapt to the new changes? Does she know about the new changes? What about sense of time? You know, a lot of, especially these games, what about Ace Race? You know, I don't know if Lizzie has played Ace Race yet. But remember, like, when they got first place in MCC5, literally Scott was 10th. I think Shabo was 12th, and CPK was like 11th or 13th, one of them. I'm not sure about them making dodgeball, but if they do, I feel like they have a really good chance to win. I'm not going to talk about the Sapphire Simmers a lot, because we all know that the Sapphire Simmers are playing for fun. A lot of people are placing them in the 9th or 10th place, so I'm not going to go over them that much. Next, we have Sapnap, Jordan, Kara, and Sylvie. Now, Sapnap, Jordan, top 10 definitely. Unless Jordan has a bad day, I feel like they are, in most scenarios, going to make dodgeball. Now, a lot of people say the third place curse is real. Nah, you just need to... No, there's no such thing. All that needs to happen is that this team needs good communication, good games, and we know that Kara and Sylvie they do play competitively. Kara makes 20 something plays all the time. Sylvie, last MCC, she popped off and hole in the wall. And we know Jordan and Sapnap. I think what needs to happen is they need to pick games that suit them. You know, like Sapnap needs to play Sky Battle, Jordan needs to play Ace Race, and then I feel like they can do well in PvP as well. I feel like this team would be good at Battle Box. Although I heard that a Battle Box kit would be really weird. But I feel like they have a really high chance of making the top 2, mainly because there are 2 people who have always consistently made the top 10. Okay, maybe not Sapnap has consistently, but Sapnap has done well, and I feel like both of them will make the top 10, considering there's not much competition this MCC. Finally, Tommy, Tabo, Wilbur, and Pokey main. Again, we all know Tommy throws for content. He's gonna throw for content again. We all know that's gonna happen. And I feel like Tabo is a good player, but I don't know if, based on what we have seen, they play Among Us and everything, whether or not this team can concentrate on winning. I don't really see this team. Like you know, Dream is always like super focused on winning. Like Dream is one of the most competitive Minecrafters out there. That being said, when Tabo was with Dream, you know, the whole atmosphere was really about winning. Now, will Tommy and Wilbur have their eyes on winning, or will they have their eyes on, I don't know, something else? There's no Vlog gun involved. This is not a Vlog gun competition. You know, Tommy only got 8th place last time because of this Vlog gun, and you know, thank goodness that, unless Wilbur says, okay, Vlog gun 3 or something. I don't know Vlog. I mean, Vlog gun does this. You know, I'm gonna destroy this if we don't get first place. Then maybe Tommy will suddenly be like, Tabo, we need to do something, Tabo. And I don't really know. I don't think Pokey mains Minecraft. You know, she mains other games. I'm not saying that she's not competitive, but is she experienced enough at the game to be able to carry her weight? We all know that Wilbur is not really like. He usually comes 20 something, you know, and so will Tommy and Tabo be able to place high in the top 10s? Unlikely. So I don't think that this team is gonna do very well. It's gonna be really fun to watch, and I think this is my go-to team to watch because of, I think this team is gonna be really funny basically. So I think I'm gonna watch them. But alright, so yeah, now I'm gonna just go about my placements. So in 8th place we have the Sapphire Simmers. In 7th place, we have the Aqua Axolotls, who I think will throw for content. In 6th place, and this might surprise you, but in 6th place, I do have Green Guardians. Now, if they make it to Dodgeball, I feel like they have a good chance of winning, but will they make it to Dodgeball is the question. I feel like Scott needs to really pop off, and so the Shovel. And can Lizzie carry the weight? We've seen Quick on teams where some of his teammates haven't really pulled their weight necessarily, and because of that, they cannot score well. So will that happen again? You know, will that happen again? Number 7, I actually have the Orange Ocelots. Same idea actually as Quick Scott and Shovel Lizzie, but I feel like, I'm not gonna lie here, and I feel like False Symmetry can do a little bit better than Lizzie and Shovel. That's just my opinion for now. But of course, I'm a big Shovel fan, so hopefully not. Fourth place, we have Krinios, Tapple, Burn, and Michael, mainly because I personally don't think that Krinios or Tapple will make the top 5. And usually in the highest 2 teams, there's somebody like from each team making the top 5 to carry the team. I feel like this team is so towards the middle, based on previous placements, that it will not be able to clutch into the top 2. But I could be wrong. So number 3, I actually have Lime Llamas, Techno, Phil, Niachu, and Eret. And the reason why is because Niachu and Eret, great support player, great morale booster. Eret needs to do better in terms of individual placements for me to say, okay, I'm confident that this team will make Dodgeball. And looking at the other 2 teams I have above Techno's team, there's no new players on the other 2 teams. I think that really sells me that the other 2 teams are going to do better than Techno's team. Then we have the 2 teams that I believe will make the finals. Red Rabbits and Cyan Creepers. I'm really hoping that Cyan Creepers make it to the top 2. And I feel that if Lime Llamas do take somebody's spot, it could be the Red Rabbit spot. I feel like Cyan Creepers are pretty much, unless the third place thing happens again. But you know what? Just screw the third place thing, Basically, I feel like the top 3 here, okay, maybe even the top 4. The top 4 here are all people that can make the top 2 in terms of Dodgeball. But yeah, that is my placements for the MCC. Comment down below if you feel a different way. Again, all of this is subjective, so they're not necessarily like right, wrong. You could disagree. That's fine. Put it down in the comments, and if you want, you can also subscribe for fun. We'll see you guys. Bye bye.